Welcome. Good morning, everyone. It looks like we've got some attendees who are arriving and are still arriving. It's so good to see all of you here, Murali, Mike, and Ed. Good morning. Hope everyone's doing well. Murali, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks, Susan. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. My son just got back from college for the summer. He's doing great. He had a great semester, so it's great to have him home. How are your kids doing?
They're doing good. They're also equally excited about work at home and studying. Yeah, they're doing good. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Mike, it's so good to see you. How's everyone at your house doing?
Thank you. Everybody here is doing great. Getting ready for another long, hot summer in Tampa.
Oh, great. Wonderful. Well, I hear the summers in Tampa are beautiful, so I'm jealous.
They can be very warm, but yes, it's also a great time of year.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, I'm so glad to have you here. Thank you so much for being with us. And Ed, it's great to see you again. How are you?
Doing well. Great to see you again, Susan.
Thank you.
And yeah, so I have a 12-year-old son growing really fast. He's up to my shoulder right now. Yeah, so all well. All right.
Excellent, excellent. Well, congratulations, all of you, on happy families, and looking forward to this summer. It's just great to have you here. Thank you for being here as our panelists. It looks like our attendees are arriving, so I am going to welcome them to From Business to Hindsight to Foresight with Azure Synapse Analytics. Thank you all so much for being here. So I'd like to formally welcome you to the session today. As data has emerged as the new competitive differentiator, the advantages of leveraging data for business intelligence is clear. With data as the driving force behind your daily business operations and decisions, the right business intelligence solution should also help you realize measurable impact and return on your investment, or ROI. In this webinar, we'll be covering why Azure Synapse Analytics is the right business intelligence solution for your business. Now let me introduce the team. Edward Diamond, our Senior Vice President and Head of Global Sales Team. Hello, Ed. Thanks so much for being here.
Hi, great to be here.
Thank you. And Murali Krishnan, our Senior Director, Dynamics and Analytics Practice, has over 2 decades of multinational experience in all facets of ERP implementation and business intelligence. Thank you so much again, Murali, for being here.
Thanks, Susan, and I welcome all of you to the webinar today.
Thank you. And Mike Glazer, Azure Synapse Technical Specialist from Tech Data. Thanks again, Mike, for being here. So great to see you.
Thank you. It's great to be involved with this.
Thank you. And for our attendees, just one more housekeeping point before we begin. There will be a question and answer session after the main presentation. However, you can ask questions at any time using the panel on the interface. All lines will be on mute during and after the session. This webinar is presented by Korcomptenz and Tech Data. Korcomptenz is a Microsoft Gold certified partner headquartered in New Jersey with extensive experience improving business outcomes for our customers. We leverage end-to-end solutions involving the ongoing convergence of ERP, Azure Cloud, analytics, artificial intelligence, and IoT. We specialize in the Microsoft Dynamics 365 range of products such as Dynamics 365 Business Central, Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations, and Dynamics 365 CRM, Power Platform, and the entire Microsoft ecosystem. Tech Data connects the world with the power of technology. They're the largest Microsoft Dynamics distributor in North America with an end-to-end portfolio of products, services, and solutions, plus highly specialized skills and expertise in next-generation technologies. As the world's leading end-to-end technology distributor, Tech Data puts a singular focus on our customers' needs and goals with the objectivity of a true strategic partner. They feature over 30 Microsoft certified professionals in Azure, Modern Workplace, Dynamics, and the Power Platform. As you can see, we have a packed agenda today. First, Ed will cover some background material on the past state of analytics and its slow transition to the next-gen solutions that enables us to predict future events and accelerate our time to action. Then Mike will talk about the various features of Azure Synapse Analytics, followed by a demo by Morali, talking about the project delivery methodology, a couple of customer success stories, and a demo on Synapse features. We will then conclude by recommending the next steps for your analytics journey. We'll also leave time for questions and answers. Let's get started. Ed, please take it away.
Thanks, Susan, for that great introduction. In this segment, we will cover how an increasing number of organizations are transitioning from decision systems that analyze past events to newer systems that predict future events and recommend actions for the best possible outcomes. We will also be introducing Microsoft's Cloud Analytics Services.
As you can see, this slide shows a continuum of how organizations are using technology to move from business hindsight to business foresight to help them answer key questions that help them in decision making. Many are already using technologies that help them answer the question, what happened? Some have progressed and developed the capability to answer the question, why did it happen? While a select few have developed advanced analytics capabilities that help them answer questions such as what will happen and how can we make it happen. So as you look at the slide, I'm sure it gives you an idea of where you are as an organization on this trajectory. So now we'll go over what we call loosely the BI zone or the business intelligence zone, as the term escapes a strict definition within the industry. Many organizations find themselves in this zone of descriptive analytics. And here they're collecting, analyzing, and reporting on data from business operations, but are essentially reporting on the past. Some are using reporting systems that are tightly integrated with their operational systems, while others might have a data warehouse in place. Others have graduated into the zone of more advanced analytics. And here they're using data mining tools for deeper insights, and some are probably using big data solutions that store and analyze different types of data, both structured and unstructured, and also leveraging machine learning to some extent. In most cases, these organizations have a few things in common. Most of them are still using on-prem systems for their decision automation, with big CapEx investments in hardware, software, and a mix of different tools. They're also losing sleep over data security and compliance issues, and probably also grappling with the complexity of using different technologies to get things going. Microsoft was focused on bringing these two worlds together, and that's exactly what they've done with a market-leading service like Power BI and Azure Synapse Analytics, which is a limitless analytics service that brings together data integration, enterprise data warehousing, and big data analytics. This solution is based on the Azure cloud and is highly scalable. It has separated storage from compute, so you can now use economical storage for all your data types from different sources, both inside and outside the organization. And then use compute depending on what you're trying to accomplish. On-demand serverless compute for simpler tasks and dedicated compute for more complex tasks. You also have world-class security and compliance out of the box. This provides you a view of how Azure Synapse Analytics ingests, explores, prepares, and manages the data to serve it up so it's ready to be taken over by your Azure machine learning to perform predictive and prescriptive analytics, and then be visualized and reported via Power BI. Azure Synapse Analytics has an easy-to-use tool called Synapse Studio to orchestrate these activities. It provides a workspace with a lot of automation for the entire process, right from data prep, data management, data exploration, data warehousing, big data, and AI tasks. So what you see here is really a unified analytics platform, which now makes it easier for a multidisciplinary team made up of business analysts, IT professionals, and data scientists to work together. They're now able to spend more time delivering business value instead of trying to wrap their heads around making a motley mix of technologies work together. So what are some of the benefits customers are experiencing moving to this Microsoft solution stack? Here are the results of a study done by Forrester Consulting for Microsoft. Forrester interviewed a few customers and surveyed over 360 other customers who are currently using a mix of Azure Analytics and Power BI solutions. And prior to using Microsoft Analytics and BI offerings, these customers were typically using a mix of homegrown solutions or solutions from other vendors, primarily deployed on premises. But in most cases, these solutions were becoming too costly for them to maintain and grow as the amount of data increased. They were also limited in terms of integrating all the data and completing the analysis in a timely manner. So as you can see here, they did realize significant ROI moving to Microsoft. In this section, we're going to go over some examples of how these technologies can be potentially used across industries such as manufacturing and retail. So in manufacturing, we build these solutions using a multi-step process. As you can see here, you have these 5 solution areas in blue circles across these 3 distinct horizons: connected, predictive, and finally the cognitive horizon. Starting with a connected stage, the journey to the factory of the future will need to start with connecting factory assets by adding IoT sensors to machines and equipment. That's where you are doing that in the connected phase, and then you move on to the predictive phase, where you now have the ability to use a combination of IoT, high performance Azure compute resources, and machine learning to do remote monitoring and predictive maintenance on your factory assets and on your equipment at customer locations. And finally, in the cognitive stage, you're able to leverage AI to enhance decision making with little or no human involvement. We have a saying in the industry that machine learning is used to make predictions and AI is used to make decisions. So now we're going to go over how we can reimagine the retail industry using these technologies. And let's walk through this journey in a little more detail. So what you're going to be able to do is now create new ways to drive traffic using these technologies, both inside your brick and mortar locations and to your e-commerce storefront. And the goal is to provide a seamless omnichannel experience. And you can now have a powerful AI engine, analyze all the data from customer touchpoints, and deliver personalized recommendations. Technologies can also facilitate smarter virtual experiences for shoppers to find and experience products before buying. For example, technologies such as Microsoft's HoloLens, Azure Cognitive Services, and virtual agents can enable this. A modern solution will also include consolidated dashboards for management to have complete store data at their fingertips. All details can be provided in an easy to understand visual format with options to dig deeper into specifics in real time. In addition, advanced AI-powered tools can also monitor for store health or for any anomalies in operations. You can also enable smarter inventory management that is more adaptive and learning all the time by deploying AI and ML technologies to optimize inventory, increase revenues, and improve margins. With Reimagined Retail, you can now enable automated fulfillment to deliver faster than ever and improve customer experience with consistent inventory across channels. And finally, customer loyalty. Retailers are using these technologies to develop increasingly sophisticated and personalized loyalty programs to increase customer retention and drive additional revenue. Insights generated help them drive more sales with minimal advertising and marketing costs.
And now I'd like to send this to Mike Laser to walk you through the features of Azure Synapse in a little more detail.
Thank you, Ed. I'm Mike Glazer, and I will be discussing some of the features that make Synapse Analytics the best choice for data warehouse and big data analytics. Azure Synapse provides a unified experience that brings together data ingestion, big data analytics, and data warehousing at cloud scale. The unification of these workloads enables your organization to massively reduce their end-to-end development time and accelerate time to insight. Instead of stitching together services or creating siloed solutions for just one of these three areas, Azure Synapse unifies your data tasks, and your data teams with a limitless analytic service that does it all. It simplifies the monotonous but necessary data chores that every team must do, such as securing pipelines, assigning permissions to users for each service, building firewalls, and so on. With Azure Synapse, all you do is secure your Synapse Studio, and the Microsoft Azure team takes care of the rest. Simplified analytics is what Azure Synapse delivers. Creating an analytics service that unifies integration, warehousing, and analytics, and redefines what capabilities an analytics service must provide is the result of a multi-year project. The result is a brand new distributed SQL engine that provides many useful features, including the ability to resize a live workload, deliver predictable performance at scale, and efficiently handle both relational and unstructured data. Because of the distributed nature of the new engine, Synapse can run more parallel workloads than any other analytics engine on the market. The new SQL engine provides deep integration with Apache Spark and SQL to meet the needs of modern workloads. Synapse is enabling a level of collaboration among data professionals that previously wasn't possible. Synapse provides limitless scale on unstructured, semi-structured, and structured data. This means your teams get the flexibility, speed, and agility they need to provide insights when you need them. Given this huge range of functionality available with Azure Synapse, it's nice to have a choice about how you allocate and consume resources as well. Today, Synapse offers both serverless and dedicated resource models, giving you more flexibility and more control over your cloud spend. If you need predictable performance and cost, you can create dedicated SQL pools to reserve processing power for data stored in SQL tables. If you need to accommodate unplanned or bursty workloads, you can use the always available serverless SQL endpoint. Let's touch on security. In the quest to break down silos and empower all of your users with access to a continuum of analytics, the question of governance and security comes right to the top. Synapse Analytics changes the role of your IT team by providing well-managed tools and services that support effective best practices among business users. Synapse Analytics provides best-in-class security by providing layers of protection. You have concerns about security at multiple points in the life of your data, and Analytics helps alleviate those concerns. One of the ways this is done is by building data protection into the fabric of the service. With Synapse, you get a comprehensive approach to security, from access control and authentication to proactive threat protection and compliance. Network security is built into Analytics, and monitoring and automatic playbook responses can be accomplished through Azure Sentinel. And since it's built on Azure, that means you get the latest updates and features as they roll out. Synapse provides you with managed virtual networks that connect your data pools seamlessly and keep you compliant. This way, your team doesn't have to do the specialized work of setting up and maintaining the network. Synapse makes it possible for you to easily apply your data governance policies too, through native integration with Azure Purview. Azure Purview automatically discovers and classifies data assets based on what you set up and provides end-to-end data lineage. Azure Purview is a unified data governance service that helps manage and govern your on-premises, multi-cloud, and software as a service data. With Azure Purview Data Map, you can set the foundation for data discovery and effective data governance. Traditional SQL pools use an extract, transform, and load, or ETL process for loading data. Synapse Analytics uses distributed query processing, so you can now use an extract, load, and transform, or ELT process that leverages the built-in distributed processing capabilities and eliminates the resources needed for data transformation prior to loading. Synapse employs a hybrid approach to data integration that puts everything you need at your fingertips to bring together different data sources. With 95 built-in connectors and more on the way, you can access your data on almost any system without the need to export it and upload it to Azure. If you have data in a location that does not have a built-in connector, Synapse has ways to help with that too, with built-in APIs. Increased flexibility to access data where it is to improve productivity and reduce time to insight. Whether you prefer to do the coding yourself or use a low-code, no-code interface, you can create schedules or automate event-based triggers that keep your data current. It used to be that using the data warehouse was an enterprise-level decision, and it took months or sometimes years just to get it set up and running right. The payback period could be months, years, and in some cases on a larger scale, even decades. It's not the case today. Built on a fully managed elastic platform of Azure, Synapse provides a totally accessible, ready-to-use solution for any size or level of business, whether it's a department of 10 or an enterprise with thousands of users. It gives you the features you need in a single tier and provides elastic compute capabilities that can be optimized for different classes of workloads, which goes a long way to helping you control your costs. Speaking of control, Azure Synapse Studio provides a unified workspace for your team to work in for data prep, data management, data warehousing, big data, and AI tasks. This highly visual, code-free interface works for everyone. In Synapse Studio, your data engineers can manage data pipelines, database administrators can automate query optimization, and data scientists can build proofs of concept in minutes. Synapse Studio is a web-native experience that ties everything together in one location so you can do every task you need to build a complete solution. Synapse can be used for analytics by just a few people or in an enterprise with many users. Synapse makes it easy to manage the workload and prioritize certain workloads so they run first or faster. Additionally, Synapse Analytics makes it easy to both scale in and scale out your workloads so you can balance between cloud spend management and workload performance. Currently in private preview is the ability to scale out by increasing the compute power of clusters or by using multiple clusters with auto scale features. Now your data engineers and data scientists can collaborate seamlessly using code-free and code-first experiences to train machine learning models in Synapse, powered by Azure Machine Learning. Notebooks offer a collaborative code authoring experience for complex predictive models. Whether you use our pre-built models or build your own, automated machine learning takes minutes on Azure Synapse versus days or months as with some solutions. So you'll have the ability to iterate rapidly for greater insights. Furthermore, the engine allows for automatic ML data exploration to help you get the best predictive model possible. You can access this capability through Synapse Studio, and you don't even have to write a lot of new code to do it. With Synapse Studio, you don't need formal training in data science to use machine learning. Synapse supports industry standards for data types and programming languages as shown here. Synapse supports data science languages such as SQL, PySpark, Scala, and C#, and your data formats can be structured, semi-structured, or unstructured. For unstructured data, the data lake supports an unlimited set of file formats, including Parquet, ORC, and JSON, as well as audio, image, and video formats. Again, it's a lot of flexibility to process the types of data that you have. Additionally, Synapse has a rich partner ecosystem that is constantly growing. No matter what system you may be using today, Synapse will probably integrate seamlessly with it. With almost 100 data connectors built into Synapse, your data is available everywhere. Let's take a quick look at a couple of case studies. TechnoAlpin is a snow production company that used Azure Synapse Analytics to help ski resorts ensure they're providing just the right amount of snow for their customers. To do this, TechnoAlpin needed real-time access to tons of data to make smart predictions which their infrastructure couldn't support. Synapse was able to predict maintenance needs to reduce downtime and fine-tune operations. With Amerisource Bergen, they chose Synapse Analytics specifically to democratize analytics for everyone. This company sources and distributes about 20% of the pharmaceuticals in the US. They needed a centralized platform where business users could run their own analytics without needing data engineers at every step. Azure Synapse Analytics provides a self-service platform that the company uses to predict better business outcomes. So these are just a few of the things that can be accomplished with Synapse Analytics and some of the advanced features that it provides. So now I'd like to turn this over to Murali for a discussion on your analytics journey.
Thank you, Mike. That was a great presentation on the features and the functionalities of Synapse we heard from Mike. Now we'll get into the project delivery methodology of how these data analytics projects are executed. And we'll also cover a couple of success stories which are executed by Korcomptenz. And we'll dive into a demo on the functionalities and features of Synapse. Let's get started. Let's first look at the life cycle of an analytics project execution. In the initial phase, it's all about business understanding. We try to determine the key business variables which the analysis is attempting to predict and optimize. We call these model targets. Examples of model targets could be sales for the next year, ranking of stores by footfall, probability of an equipment failure in a manufacturing plant, etc. As a next step, we investigate the existing data assets and pick the relevant inputs required for our purposes. If we find them inadequate, then we work on getting additional data from other apps internally or even from external sources if required. At the end of this phase, we deliver the project charter with clear and measurable objectives, pick the required data sources, and determine the variables and put them in a data dictionary document. In the next phase, we work on bringing the data in and understanding it better. We look at the data quality. Every variable in the mix is explored individually as well as in tandem with other variables. We visualize the patterns via various plots and check for discrepancies such as outliers, missing values, etc. We have tools built within Synapse Studio for this purpose. We also use tools such as Power BI to communicate our exploration and data insights to the stakeholders. This process is iterative, and we work with the stakeholders on this data preparation and cleansing until everybody is satisfied on the quantity and the quality of the data that will be used for the downstream processes. Then we set up the pipelines and data flow from the source on a regular basis. The frequency could be hourly, twice a day, or daily based on the requirements. During the model development, we attempt to discover new variables from the data. It's called the feature engineering. We either split the existing ones or join one or more of them to derive meaningful features which add value to the experiments and the final outcome. The model training phase is where the major chunk of the work is done. We split the data into training and test data sets. Depending on the target variables, we apply multiple machine learning algorithms on the training data set and come out with various models. We use regression, neural networks, decision trees, random forests, etc. over multiple spreads. To determine the predictive power of the models, we run them over the test data and compare how the prediction fares vis-a-vis the actuals. One or more models which most closely matches with the actuals are selected for deployment into production. And finally, in the deployment phase, we install the models from the development into production environment and apply them on the production data. Visuals are built to view the outcomes. The model outcomes are carefully monitored and the feedback is used to improve the models. This cycle goes on until a fully optimized model evolves. We also train and handhold the stakeholders on using the data pipelines, models, and the visuals for a couple of weeks after deployment so that they can get comfortable with them. Next up, we'll go through a couple of success stories. The first one you are seeing is the story of how we modernized the reporting and analytics platform for one of our customers. This customer is a master franchisee operating a global brands restaurants with 300+ stores across the country. They were using an on-premise legacy ERP system with multiple front-end apps for in-store sales, shipping for online orders, staff work scheduling, etc. They were struggling with disparate apps and a lack of unified data utilization strategy to guide their decisions at various levels. With a growing business, the unscalable resources were also a major constraint. In short, they were in a dire need of a better reporting and analytics platform. The solution? We installed Azure Synapse along with Azure Data Factory to bring in and unify the data from various applications into Azure Data Lake. Visualizations were developed in Power BI to bring visibility into their operations. Further, we extended the solution by securely sharing data to downstream workloads for further reporting and analytics. The next one is where we used machine learning models on Azure and helped this customer predict maintenance events for their key equipment. This customer is one of the largest refrigerated storage specialists in the United States, providing sales, service, leasing, and support for thousands of refrigerator trailers. They had collected a considerable amount of historical data on the service records and operating conditions of their equipment, but they were not able to put that data to good use. An agile, predictive maintenance model was deployed by us, starting with building the appropriate infrastructure, selecting and training the model, testing it for accuracy, and ultimately deploying it to support their operations. We collaborated with the customer to identify their short and long-term needs for the initial predictive analytics program and now are in the process of implementing the subsequent phases of the program. Now, we'll go through the demo of Synapse functionalities. To ensure a smooth flow and high quality of recording for you, this is a pre-recorded session. The following will be the list of things we'll be going through in this demo. First, we'll look at the components of the Synapse Studio as an orchestrator of all the other services. We'll look at Azure Data Factory and Data Lake for inputs, and we'll look at Azure ML to build models and tuning them. And in the end, we'll look at Power BI as a tool for visualization of our outcomes. The whole process talks about how to bring in data from various sources in various formats and store in the data lake, and then explore and pre-process the data in terms of visualizations and managing the outliers, missing values, so that we prepare the data for our modeling. And then we'll apply the machine learning models, various algorithms on the data by splitting them into training and test models, and then we'll tune the models for optimization. And in the end, the part comes of communicating the power and the usefulness of the models. We use Power BI for communicating the outcomes to the consumers of the models. We'll be back live to respond to your queries on this. Thank you. Azure Synapse is an analytics platform. It unifies data integration, enterprise data warehousing, and big data analytics into a single user interface. This user interface is the focus of this demo. It's called Synapse Studio. Synapse Studio is accessed from your Synapse workspace. Synapse workspace is a logical unit equivalent to a project or a folder which you use to group your other key resources such as data, code, reports, etc. You create a Synapse workspace just like any other Azure resource. All it takes is a name and a primary storage account to be linked to it. So you create a Synapse workspace and open up the Synapse Studio, and you're good to go. Across the top, you see the workspace name and a few important details such as updates from Microsoft and then notifications on your tasks. You'll be able to switch to another workspace from here, change your language from the settings button, and you can access the documentation, guided tour, keyboard shortcuts, etc. from the help button. And you will also be able to give feedback to Microsoft on the items, or you can suggest features on the product. On the navigation pane on the left, you have 6 modules called hubs. First one is the Home Hub. Here you see a few tiles which link you to some wizards and documentation to get you started on the related tasks. A quick introduction to key topics, if you will. Below that, you have a list of recently used resources which help you to access them quickly. Further down, you have notifications from Microsoft on the product updates, more tiles linking to sample datasets and templates, and a link to the Synapse community blog website. Next, we have the Data Hub. Here, you see your data sources. These are structured data of rows and columns, as well as semi-structured data or unstructured data from your data lake. The connectivity with these data sources is established via linked services functionality, and the data can be queried and analyzed within Synapse Studio. The serverless SQL pool can be used to do quick data exploration on the data lake, while dedicated SQL pools are the recommended method to query and analyze tables with predictable performance and reserved capacity. The third one is the Develop Hub. Here is where the data engineers and scientists store code artifacts for integrating, querying, and analyzing data and visualization of outcomes. Examples of artifacts are SQL scripts, Spark notebooks, data flow artifacts, activities, and Power BI reports. Using SQL scripts, you'll be able to run SQL queries from your structured and unstructured data. So you'll be able to view the details either as a table or as a chart. And you'll be able to update the type of charts you see. You'll be able to view the results within the Synapse Studio. The fourth hub is for data ingestion. It's called the Integrate Hub. This is where we create data pipelines which manages the ETL, extract, transform, and load process of data from various sources into their destinations, such as data lake or databases, and further automate the analytic processes. Azure Synapse builds on the same data tools used by Azure Data Factory. You'll be able to create the whole workflow of getting the data in, pre-processing it, and feed it to the machine learning models for training, scoring, and evaluation. This is another example of no-code drag and drop architecting of the solution. You have various tools to use here, from programming constructs to tools from other services such as machine learning, where you'll be able to author machine learning models and then link them here. The last two hubs, monitor and manage, relate to administering the Synapse service in terms of provisioning the resources required and monitoring the performance and scaling up or down as required. And last but not the least, managing the security aspects of the resources in the service itself. So far, we have seen the various parts of the Synapse Analytics Studio. Now, let's see how it all comes together to bring us value. The process is very straightforward. You ingest data using the data pipelines from external sources. It could be on the premises or on cloud. Okay, and you store them in your data lake if they are unstructured or semi-structured data, or if it's a structured data, you store them as tables. Once you have the data in, then you use the data to do your analysis and modeling. You can use either code-based tools such as Apache Spark, or you can use machine learning's drag and drop functionalities such as Model Designer. Once you are ready with the models and deploy them, score them, and evaluate them, you can visualize them and communicate to your stakeholders using Power BI. You will be able to visualize raw data, pre-processed data based on your requirements, or you can also visualize your predictions and model results using various tools available within Power BI. The whole process can be understood by viewing this diagram. With that, I sincerely hope I've given you a great introduction to Azure Synapse Analytics. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Murali. Thank you. All right, so we are back live now, and thank again for that demo, Murali. And the obvious question on everyone's mind is, what's next?
Thanks, Susan. The next steps would be to engage with you one-on-one for looking at the next level of details and discuss the options available for the transition into Synapse. We would like to do a strategic assessment of your current situation and requirements and a proof of concept to define scope, timelines, and effort.
All right, so this brings us to the next part of our webinar, our question and answer session. And we do have several questions that are coming in. Attendees, please use the GoToWebinar interface to submit your questions. This first question, Mike, if you wouldn't mind answering it, this is from Brad. He just typed in, what steps do we need to take to put a data culture in our organization?
Thank you, Susan. Data-driven culture starts from the top of an organization. The executive team champions the change. It's more likely to be part of the culture it's also important that the organization starts measuring everything that can be quantified. The data from the measurements need to be retained, and that's really where the data warehouse comes in. And then it's important to provide self-service analytics, which can be accomplished by providing access to Synapse Analytics and Power BI. And of course, the executive team needs to communicate to the rest of the organization that this is the type of culture that they're trying to implement.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for answering that. I have a very long question. Morale, I'd like for you to answer this. This is actually from Andy, and he has typed in, our data warehouse solution currently helps us with the operational reporting. How do we embark on a project which would be a value add over our current setup? What is the journey you recommend to undertake so that we're able to reap the benefits of a cloud solution without putting too much burden on our current team and ecosystem?
Thanks, Andy. That's a great question. We all know now that we can derive more intelligence and insights from our data. So beyond operational reporting, we can extend your current system using Azure Synapse with impactful analytics to help you gain competitive advantage without burdening your current setup. We'll start off with a business understanding, and then we get into data acquisition, building and training the models, and optimize them as we go. Hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Thank you for that answer. Thank you, Morale. Okay, so a few more questions. Ed, let me have you take this one, please. This is from Patrick. Are there any pre-built algorithms available in Azure Synapse that would help us quickly reap the benefits of an Azure Synapse implementation?
Great question, Patrick. The answer is yes. Azure Machine Learning comes with over 15 algorithms, I think closer to 20, I think, if memory serves. And these algorithms span many areas, such as regression, classification, clustering. Also, all these algorithms are out of box, so they can really help you jumpstart your analytics journey. I hope I answered that question.
Yes. Okay. And actually, there's another one, Ed. So what are the advantages of Azure Synapse over other competitive offerings, and why should one pick Synapse over them?
Yeah, great question again. So yeah, I think there are many worthy competitors in the field today, including players like Google, Amazon, Snowflake. But a couple of recurring themes and differentiators, I think, keep coming up in our conversations with various clients. And first, organizations that are already using Microsoft technologies really prefer staying on the Microsoft stack due to the familiar user experience and the tight native integration between Power BI and Synapse through the common data model, which is now called Dataverse. And second, other customers prefer an Azure Synapse solution primarily because of its ability to reduce complexity in their environment by bringing together all the elements needed for an end-to-end analytics solution in a neat package and with market-leading price performance ratios. So those are the two things that keep coming up in our conversations that clearly, are some of the differentiators.
Okay, thank you for answering that. I have another question about Azure Data Lake. The question is, can the Azure Data Lake and Azure Synapse take care of all of our data warehousing needs? Someone want to answer that?
Yeah, I can take that, Susan.
Okay.
So Synapse Analytics is designed from the ground up to work with structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data. So by using both Azure Data Lake Gen 2 and Synapse Analytics, you can meet all of your data warehousing needs by using TSQL or Power BI against the warehouse, or by running Spark and then using a different data language, something like PySpark or C# against the data lake, where you can create your schema on read. So it really does become an all-in-one solution.
Okay, thank you so much for clarifying that. All right, and let's just do one more question. Murali, if you wouldn't mind taking this. Okay, this is from Anne, and she has written, how much time does it take to implement Azure Synapse, and what is the cost of implementing Azure Synapse solution?
Thanks, Anne. It's a great question. There is no one-size-fits-all answer here. The elements of Azure Synapse Service, such as storage, SQL pools, etc., are very much predictable. We have various labs on top of them of resource capacities for determining our cost thresholds. So the costs really depend on the target variable that we are trying to predict and the effort needed to prepare your data. On the project duration, at a very high level, these projects could take anywhere between 3 to 6 months. Hope that answers your question, Anne.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, let me go on to the next slide. And thank you all so much for your patient listening. For all the questions that we were not able to get to, please be sure that someone from sales will get in touch shortly with you. And this brings us to the end of our webinar. So as a next step, we would encourage you to connect with us one-on-one, as we're open to engage with you for a strategic assessment of your requirements at no obligation. And we hope you would take advantage of this limited time offer. And please contact us at sales@korcomptenz.com. Thank you so much, and we all hope that you have a wonderful day ahead of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right. Good to see you all.